tonight with your host, I.O. Torrance, as we are getting set to recap what was Season 39 here in the Pro Baseball Experience. As always, I am joined by my guests, the noise upstairs that my sons are playing their video games. So please ignore the background as I will be just trying to speak over that this season. Well, it was quite an interesting season, and for the first time in, I believe, several seasons, 8 seasons if I am correct, I might double check my math, the New Orleans Rougarou did not make the postseason. Yes, quite a shame. And before we get too far, it's actually 6 seasons since we've last did not make the postseason. So, let's kind of recap a season that could have been, as it was a really close stretch right there towards the end, as the New Orleans Rougarou did finish the season with 60 wins and 48 losses, only 6 games back. And although 6 games back out of the West Division, they were 2 games away from making the playoffs, as this season's Champions Conference representatives were out of the East. 3 of the teams out of the East, the Lunar Bay Space Rangers, 66 and 42, Detroit Demons, 64 and 44, Nashville Stars, 62 and 46, Indianapolis Apex, 39 and 69, with the Rangers, Demons, and Stars, along with the West champions, the Death Valley Scorpions, who finished 66 and 42, representing the Champions Conference in the playoffs. New Orleans at 60 and 48, Cancun 37-71, and the Seattle Sea Serpents missing out this season. So let's jump on over to the New Orleans Rougarou roster and the end of the year stats. Over on the batting side, they were pretty middle of the road for the most part. Batting average 260, 4th in the conference. On base 318, 5th. Slugging 5th at 408. On base plus slugging 726, 5th. Run score 5th. Hits 4th. Extra base hits 5th. And pretty much all the way down. They were first in strikeouts, which is never a category you want to be first in, with 933. But they also had 710 stolen bases. Over on the pitching side, the earned run average for the pitching staff was 416, 4th in the division. The starters ERA kind of led the pitching staff with a 407 ERA, 3rd in the conference. Bullpen was 6th with 443. Runs allowed, they were tied for 3rd, as they actually had a pretty solid showing there. Hits allowed 4th in the conference with 910. And home runs allowed 112, 3rd in the Champions League, with 2nd in strikeouts with 1,005. Looking over at the team leaderboard, the team leader in average was Park Factors with a 306 average, followed by Oil Can at 272, Wolf 267 average, Cross Erickson 263, and over at the home run leaders, Oil Can with 19, Martinez at 18, Park Factors 16, Forbes Jr. at 11, tied with Wolf at 11. Team RBIs, Martinez had 74 RBIs, Forbes 68, Gar 62, Oil Can 59, Park Factors 56. I think it's safe to say on the hitting end, this was sort of a down year for our hitters, as New Orleans is typically towards the top of the list when it comes to hitting in the Champions Division, and so we kind of have a little bit of a regression season there with the hitters. Over on the pitching side, CC Beauchard had 13 wins. Cap penalty had 11, Paxton Torren 11, Jethro Tull 11, and Bright with 10. Team leaders in ERA, Pax Torren with 317 for a team lead, Jethro Tull at 415, CC Beauchard 433, and cap penalty 463. The team leader in strikeouts again was Pax Torren with 196, Jethro Tull 183, CC Beauchard 173, cap penalty 132, and CC Bright at 128. The pitching staff, again, starters seem to be pretty strong behind the arms of Jethro, Pax, cap penalty, and CC Beauchard. Bullpen struggled a little bit more than the starters did. Cassius Bright, as the closer, did finish the season with 12 saves and a 3.11 ERA. Kevin McThumper had 11 saves with a 4.15 ERA, but some other ones struggled there in the relief sector. Over on the hitting side, again, typically home runs, never an issue with New Orleans. Seem to have a little bit of a struggle in the power category, as reflected in the slugging percentage being 5th in the league, with the team leader only having 19 in oil can. Overall, a little bit of a regression in the roster itself, a little bit of loss in the power and in the hitting categories. Bullpen struggled. Even the starter seemed to kind of fade a little bit, as this upcoming season, the next season 40, the starter should be a big bright spot, as Jethro, Pax, and Cap Penalty all kind of get into their own here towards next season. So a lot to say about that. Kind of, a little bit of a self shout out, kind of looking at old Pax Thorn, who is my character, who is kind of been sort of my focus here. Had a pretty decent season with 11-8 record, 317, 196 strikeouts. This season, the 196 strikeouts was a career high, as Pax Thorn now has 877 strikeouts for their career, going with their 58 career wins. Will 1,000 strikeouts be on the horizon for next season? Some say yes. We'll have to wait till season 40 to take a look at that. All right, well, that was your little bit of an in-depth look at the New Orleans season 39, looking at the stats and the leaderboards there. Let's finish off the recap as we take a look at the season 39 playoffs. Over in the Legends Conference, we had New York versus Vancouver and San Antonio versus Outer Banks in the first round. And in the Champions Conference, we had Detroit taking on Lunar Base and Nashville taking off Death Valley in that first round. Moving on into the conference champions, the New York, the Voyagers would be taking on Outer Banks Aviators, and representing over in the Champions Conference, Nashville would take on Lunar Base in a pretty good matchup between a couple of teams who have not been there in a while, especially with Lunar Base going back to their Sarasota days. And then let's take a quick look at the winners of those that would go on to play in the championship. Over in the Legends, we have the Outer Banks Aviators taking on Nashville, who again has been a little bit since they made it to this level. The Champions Conference typically has been dominated by the Sea Serpents as of late, but we have some new face. Nashville taking on the defending champs Outer Bank Aviators, with the Aviators going on to win that series and going back-to-back champions. Well, that'll about do it for season 39. Thank you all joining me, I.O. Torn, as I look back on 39. I may or may not be returning for a season 40 preview, depending on time, as I was able to get this one in because my son's baseball practice was canceled with rain. So thank you again. Please, thank you for watching. Thank you for enjoying. And we'll see you next time with New Orleans Tonight. I'm your host, I.O. Torrent. And everybody have a good off season, and we'll see you back again in season 40 Pro Baseball Experience. Have a good night.